Okay, so welcome back, everyone. I'm Agnes. I'm the logistics director here at LEAP. So for those who are just joining us, thank you so much for joining us for the UBC panel now. For those who are just joining us, yeah, so just ensure that you're muted and that your camera's off, and feel free to put your questions in the Q&A chat, so then the panelists can answer there, but you can always leave them till the end for the open Q&A. So yeah. Okay, so just really quickly, LEAP, our mission really is just to equip students with the skills and the knowledge and the resources to help you guys transition from high school to university confidently. So yeah. Let's just get right into it. So Kelly, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. So, yeah, I'm Kelly. I'm a second year at UBC and I'm in the Faculty of Business. And currently, I'm a Sustainability Creative Content Director at CUS Sustainability. And in the upcoming 2020 to 2021 school year, I'm going to be a Jumpstart and Imagine Day leader for those first year events. And I'm also going to be a collegiate advisor for the entire year. And I'm planning to also pursue a concentration in sustainability and social impact. And just as a fun fact, I really love exploring anything related to beauty and fashion.
Awesome. Thank you, Kelly. Next up we have is Catherine.
Hi, I recently graduated from UBC, also the Faculty of Commerce, and I specialize in finance. So I'm going to be starting a full-time job at CIBC in investment banking in August. And while I was at UBC, I was part of the Portfolio Management Foundation, a student-run investment fund, and I was also part of some conferences, including Sauder Summit competition and the MEET conference. Outside of that, some of my interests include skiing, reading, and exploring new places to eat.
Awesome. Thank you, Catherine. Next one we have is Katrina.
Hey everyone, my name is Katrina. I'm an incoming fourth year student, also in Sauder, but in the marketing end of it. I'm currently doing an internship with a marketing agency called Flywheel Digital. They're just a local agency and I'm doing some of their internal work. So if you have any questions about the marketing side, definitely feel free to ask me. In terms of like the first year experience, I was actually a residence advisor at Place Vanier. So that's one of the three first year residences at UBC. Had a great time, lots of community building. So if you have any questions about residence life, definitely let me know, because the virtual experience is not like that. I was also a commerce peer advisor, so any questions with the undergrad office, I would answer any of those course related questions. And then now I'm just doing some support with a startup and a nonprofit with marketing work. And other than that, I really love to organize and volunteer with anyone who needs help, especially in this time around education and human rights. And I think those are two big things, especially with the pandemic and the movements that are going on.
For sure. Thank you, Katrina. Next up we have is Maria.
Hi everyone, my name is Maria and I'm a second year student in Food, Nutrition and Health in the Faculty of Land and Food Systems. So this upcoming school year, I will be an Imagine Day orientation leader, where I will be helping students in the Faculty of Land and Food Systems transition into UBC. This past year, I've also been a mentee with the LFS Tri-Mentoring Program and also a part of UBC NutriKids. I love exploring all things related to cooking and baking, as well as been catching up with anything related to nutrition.
Awesome. Thank you, Maria. And lastly, we have 5 panelists for this part. We have Tiffany.
Hey, I'm Tiffany. So yeah, I'm a second year cognitive systems student, and right now I'm in the Faculty of Arts. I was considering transferring to sciences, but I think I'll stay in arts. Anyways, right now I'm working as a bike camp. I'm working at bike camp as a computer science instructor, and it's pretty much where I just work with kids and teach them how to code. They emphasize a lot of getting female in tech, so I thought that was pretty cool. I have another job which is pretty similar. I work I also do coding and tutoring for dolphin kids achievement camps. and this one's online, so I pretty much tutor kids in computer science online. Moving on, so I also volunteer with Project Pulse, where we set up a conference every year, usually at like SFU or something, and we connect students to mentors in the health sciences faculty field, so like, you know, doctors and all. Oh, and right now I am a member of UBC's Dragon Boat team, UBC Currents. You should join. Yeah, so that's pretty fun, but it's not going on right now. Yeah, so in my spare time, I love to paddle with my Dragon Boat team, and right now I'm also finding a lot of new nonfiction novels to read. So reading has been my past hobby for like many years. So yeah.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Tiffany. Okay, so those are our panel. So for our panel discussion, just a quick overview, but we'll just get into it. So just to start off, you know, why did you choose UBC? And Kelly can start.
Yeah, thanks. So I chose UBC because if anyone's been on the campus or seen any photos, it's absolutely gorgeous. It's like a little village inside of Vancouver, I guess. And in addition, like more specifically in the solder faculty, there are many career-related resources offered, and there are also a lot of opportunities not only in solder but within UBC just to gain experiences and just get to meet a lot of people. So that was a really big, important factor.
Thank you, Kelly. Catherine, would you like to go next?
Yeah, for me, I lived in Vancouver my whole life, and it's honestly probably like my favorite place. Like, I love the city and everything. And UBC is also a very great school close to home, especially for me wanting to go to Sauder. It's like one of the best business schools in Canada. So I thought it was a really great match for me.
For sure. I mean, I go to Western, so definitely very competitive business schools for sure. Next one, Maria.
I chose UBC because I really like all the majors available in my nutrition program, as well as it's close to home, and the campus is really beautiful. So it's really nice having to go to a beautiful campus after a stressful midterm or something of the sort.
For sure. Tiffany.
Yeah, mine's pretty similar as well. I love how it's connected to a beach, Wreck Beach. It's actually Nude Beach, but you know, it's gorgeous. And some of the residences, you can watch the sunset go down as you eat, which is amazing because you get like the whole view of Vancouver as well as the Pacific Ocean. And I lived in a residence where it was like right next to the beach. It was like 5 minutes away. So I just loved how connected it was to nature.
I had a view of a parking lot, so you're very lucky. So, and lastly, Katrina.
Yeah, so my brother, he actually went to UBC, and we actually bonded because I love like community and I love like talking to people, and he told me that there's like a number of clubs they could join and organizations that you could be with. And obviously right now it's hard with the pandemic, but a lot of clubs are actually transitioning to online. So really like not just like the beauty of UBC itself, but I think like the people in the community and how it's so diverse brings it to that like factor of like, oh, like you're not the only like person from here or there, but like people from all over the world that just want to like be together.
Definitely, yeah. Community is super important in university, especially. So yeah, that's good. Okay, so would you like to talk about like some common mistakes that first year make? Any advice that you would give to your first year self? Kelly?
Yeah, sure. So I think it's really important, especially in first year when you're initially transitioning, to just find a schedule that works for yourself. Because I know, like, I've seen a lot of my friends, they try to follow schedules or study methods that other people do, and it might not work because everyone does study differently. And like, some people really get productive like overnight and they have those like late nights. But for me personally, I learned that I work better in the mornings or like afternoons. So yeah, just finding out what works for you and sticking to that, I think is really important in your initial transition.
No, definitely. Yeah, university is amazing. It provides so much more flexibility than high school. That is the one thing I love about it. So if you're a night owl or if you're more of a morning person, cater your schedule towards that for sure. Catherine. would you like to touch upon?
Yeah, I think a mistake every first year makes is like really overloading yourself, and not just in terms of courses, because I think first year is pretty standard, like the number of courses you would take, but also like in terms of extracurriculars, because I remember in first year at the first like clubs day where I could see all the different clubs, I just wanted to join everything. Then I wasted so much money on so many club memberships that I never went to another event for it, because either the events or at times it didn't even work for me, or they were at like conflicting times. So, like make sure to just not join too many things, and also kind of relating to not comparing yourself to others. In first year, there's going to be some people who are able to kind of join a lot of extracurriculars right off the bat. They're able to balance that, or who manage to find like a lot of executive positions in clubs. And it's totally okay if like you don't find something right away, if you don't find a club you're really interested in right away, because you still have a lot of time.
I totally resonate with that. Yeah, for sure. Like previously in our part one of the webinar, some people said like they regret not joining enough clubs, but then some like myself as well, I joined way too many clubs, wasted a lot of money. So everything's in moderation and balance for sure. Thank you. Maria, would you like to?
Yeah, sure. So, in my first semester, I didn't really think of going to professor and TA office hours, which I find that is really important in clarifying any questions. So pretty much usually professors at UBC have office hours open for about 3 hours a week. And I regret not going to those more often, because it can really boost your mark, and also establishes that really important relationship with the teacher, because there can be up to 500 people in one class. So it's nice to have a prof that can actually identify you, and also I feel that you're more engaged in the class this way.
For sure. That's really solid advice. Yes, definitely. Tiffany.
For me, it was forgetting about what resources uni has to offer, because like, you're paying so much for tuition, right? So a lot of it is actually going into, say, mental health resources. And I really wanted to focus on that because in my transition to university, I think my biggest mistake was ignoring my mental health. And I'm just gonna be real, like I like fell into like a really deep hole, I guess, and like I ended up having to go to the hospital. But like if I had discovered what UBC had to offer, like such as mental health resources, support groups, I feel like I wouldn't have done stuff to myself. But I think I really joined this LEAP thing just to emphasize how important your mental health is, because as someone who has neglected theirs, it's definitely my biggest mistake.
For sure. I think many university students definitely, there's a lot of things going on in university, so much more than high school. So it's definitely, you got to consider that. And yeah, no, definitely mental health is very important. So thank you, Tiffany. And lastly, Katrina.
Yeah, I think like really touching on what Catherine and Tiffany said, like first with like not overloading yourself and not balancing, and then with what Tiffany said is like really understanding like your personal health and mental health. I think with UBC, one of our perks is we focus a lot of like balance and like knowing like who you are and like what kind of like strengthens you versus like what weakens you. And the biggest part of that is just knowing how your routine is with your courses and making sure that you're not doing too much in one day, or that you're kind of like pushing everything to like the last night. And procrastination is a big thing, but it's really good to make sure you know like how to balance yourself and not kind of like pitfalling yourself at the end of that.
No, for sure. Thank you. Thank you for that. Let's go in. How is the social life, the environment, the culture like in UBC and in Vancouver? Is it really competitive there, or is it friendly? Is it really easy to make friends? Anyone can answer that?
Sure,
Or yeah, whoever wants to answer first. Sorry.
Yeah, I think like the social life is like so fun. You can walk around. There's different parts on campus. Obviously, like right now it is virtual, but maybe in second semester or in the next year, like that picture has. You have a community in like different restaurants. There's rain or shine. There's sushi places. There's like secret places you can go. I think my best part for me is Rec Beach. It is literally like a beach on campus. I don't think like Western has this, or
Oh
like,
no, of course not.
but like you get to like chill and like suntan. So I think that that's the best part, as just like the social community with like the various amount of locations.
Definitely, yeah, no, yeah. I mean, at Western, it's a beautiful campus, but we get geeses instead of a beach. But you know, definitely, that's a very good part about UBC for sure. Whoever wants to go next.
I would have to agree with what Katrina said, like rain or shine, definitely my favorite part of campus. And also like, yeah, the beach, like she said, is really beautiful. And UBC is just really big. So there's a lot to explore. And I think it's just really great to, I guess, when like after class to just walk around with your friends, since everyone is like fresh and new to the place. So yeah, it's really a lot of open space, fresh air, and just nature.
Definitely. Thank you. And we'll just, one last person, whoever wants to go next.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about, as for the environment, not necessarily like the physical environment, but I feel like it's at UBC, there's a very competitive nature. Everyone, it seems as if everyone's out to get one another, but I think it's really important to find your own friend group, because there's been a lot of stories of like, people say the social life is great, and it is. I think you just have to find your right group, because there are issues with like a lot of these things, but I would say that everyone is quite competitive, but if you find the right people, they can be really supportive and help you through your year.
For sure, yeah, no, I definitely found that going into Western as well. Like there are people, everyone's just trying to achieve the best that they can. So, but definitely if you find the amazing people, study together, like you're kind of in this together kind of mentality, hoping everyone can succeed. So yeah, that definitely is. Yeah, so we'll go into the next part. Okay, so let's go into academics, you know, do just some specific bird courses for first years, any notable professors that our attendees can consider. Kelly can go first, yeah.
Sure. This one's kind of weird. I'm not sure if many people would agree with me, but I personally found that Econ 101 with Con was very doable and manageable. It was one of the required courses actually for first year in solder, so I just got lucky with like the standard timetable. But yeah, it was definitely a very doable course. It's microeconomics, I believe. Yeah, but just put in the work and effort, and it's definitely very doable. Ling 101 was also another doable course for me. It was really interesting. All the stuff you learn about like phonetics and stuff. So if anyone's interested in like how languages get formed and stuff, it's definitely a really interesting course.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you. Catherine.
Yeah, sure. So Gaiman is also an econ prof who's kind of like has a lot of mixed reviews. Like some people really hate him, some people like him, and I know a lot of people take econ in first year. So just, you know, I guess as general tip, like it's important to read into reviews and kind of try to see what works for you. But some other courses I recommend taking first year EOSC, which is Earth and Ocean Sciences, and I find it pretty interesting. And a lot of them are also online courses. Well, I guess it's all online, but if it was in person, it would still be online. And also beginner language courses, I find, were a really nice way to get an intro to a new language at like a very easy beginner level.
Just to add on to that, actually, Catherine, would you say like Rate My Prof is like a pretty good resource, or is it like still kind of like always take it with a grain of salt, or the pretty reliable resource to find good profs?
I think definitely take it with a grain of salt. And UBC has a pretty good drop deadline for courses. So like I think it's about 2 weeks after the first day of class. So if you don't like a prof, you don't like a class, you can drop it with no penalty to yourself at all.
No, definitely. Yeah, that's something to take into consideration. I'm pretty sure everyone has already finished basically enrolling, I would say. But yeah, Maria.
Okay, so Chem 121 and 123 are definitely not considered the easiest courses. However, when taken with Erin Lindenberg, she's the course coordinator for the course, so she pretty much has quite a big say on the midterms and the exams and that sort of stuff. In her classes, it's a really good course. You really grasp the concepts, and yeah, I've been in her class and it's really great. So I would try to get in her class if possible.
Yeah, definitely look into that. And lastly, Katrina.
For me, I really love profs who are just like outspoken and bubbly and like not intimidating at all.
Mhm.
And that was like me in first year. I was like, I don't want to talk to anyone who's like scary. But Greg Worker, these are specifically commerce courses. But yeah, him with Com 290, that's where you do a lot of like Excel. He's like the best prof. And I know for first years at Sauder, you have a standard timetable. So if you have him, he's great. And Com 101 is business fundamentals. So that's where you learn like the general specializations like accounting, marketing. And Connor Topley, he is like the coolest prof ever, and obviously Dr. Z, but Connor Topley was basically that person that made me realize that like business people don't have to be like suit and tie every day, like professional people every day. So yeah, those two courses are like the two that I recommend with the profs.
Definitely. Thank you, Katrina. That was really helpful. How was your program in terms of difficulty? And maybe just like along with that, because everyone kind of went online in March, how was learning online at UBC as well? I guess Tiffany can go first. Yeah.
For me, I'm in cognitive systems, but I'm coming in from the psychology stream. So a lot of people would consider that easier, I guess, because it's in arts. But it's actually not as easy as I assumed it would be, because because if it's in arts, it's easier, right? But there's a lot of computer science courses that you have to take. And computer science, as you may have heard, it's quite difficult. Like Comp Sci 121, 220, 210. So I found it pretty hard. But online was actually all right for me, because I guess I guess it was really flexible. So I was able to like split my time up. But at the same time, I also fell behind, because without going to a physical location, I often got lazy. So yeah.
For sure. Thank you. And because a lot of you guys are from Sauder, so I'll just take one of them. I'll take Kelly. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So I think like I just finished first year, so it was like fresh for me. But initially for me in high school, I didn't have any like business background. I didn't take any business courses other than econ and marketing. But initially the transition, it was like really big, because I've never had that prerequisite like little sample to business. So it was a big adjustment, but I think it's definitely very doable if you put in the effort and you just kind of adjust, because I know a lot of the other students are in the same place as you. So like not everyone has that business background, but yeah, it was definitely challenging to adjust, but it's probably not as difficult as some people might say it is. Just as long as you put in effort, I think it's really important and everything will be fine.
Yeah, for sure. And like we said in the first part of our webinar, like mindset is really important, and having that discipline to work hard for sure. And then we'll ask Maria, because she's in foods and nutrition.
Yeah, so first year of food, nutrition, and health in the Faculty of Line and Food Systems is the exact same as the Faculty of Science, with the exception of some courses. So I'll be speaking to the science courses as well. It can be, depending on the person, of course, it can be a difficult process of adjusting into these science courses. However, if you've taken a lot of science courses in high school, you'll find that a lot of the material can be repeated. But in terms of difficulty, everybody has their preference. Some people like chem, some people hate it. So it's definitely manageable, and there's lots of resources. There's like a chemistry learning center and professor and teaching assistant hours. So those are really great and make it doable. And as for online learning, I found that with recorded lectures and also classes being both having live sessions and recorded sessions makes it a lot easier than even in-person classes for me.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, because it kind of depends on the person too. Like if you're really like self-disciplined and able to like I love the aspect of going to class, being in class. So it really just depends on the person as well. But yeah, thank you. Thank you, Maria. Okay, we're gonna go into our next section, which is experiences, internships, clubs, and ECs. So could you guys just briefly touch upon like what was your involvement in clubs, ECs, or sports during your first 2 years, and then maybe suggest some ECs for first years to join. Kelly, actually, we'll start with Katrina.
Sorry. Yeah, so for my first year, this is, I'll share one that's business related and then one that's like general. So business related, there's a competition called JDC West, and they are a competition team. You get to do cases every week, and those are for more upper year students. But in first year and second year, you can actually try out for sort of like the complementary teams, which are debate. If you're a debater, athletics, if you love athletics, and they do like weird sports each year. And there's also a social team. So in first year, I was a social member, and I literally did a mix of like Amazing Race and like Fear Factor. And one of the practices we had to do was like run from like, do a 3-legged race from Olympic Village to Granville Island. So if you're like a Fear Factor person, do that. And another one I did was rec. So rec is where you get to sign up for any league sports, and it doesn't have to be a varsity team. That's a huge myth. Like you don't have to be a varsity player to join sports, but I just did the basketball team and the volleyball team just as a general for fun player. And you have mixed teams as well as single gender teams.
Yeah, no, I loved intramurals. Yeah, that was like my only cardio, my only fitness in university. Oh my goodness. But anyways, Catherine, would you like to go next?
Yeah, sure. So within solder, I didn't actually join that much in first year. I think I didn't really find anything appealed to me too much. I was part of Solder Summit, which is like a case competition, part of that to like help out basically and to help organize the competition. And second year, I was this is also a solder specific thing, the Portfolio Management Foundation, which is very geared towards finance. And outside, like just in general UBC, I also joined the UBC Dance Club, which is like ballroom dancing and such, which was really fun and a great way to meet new people. And I also was part of a social club. I guess I was part of the Hong Kong Students Association, which was also a fun way to meet new people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, there's like, I'm sure for many universities, such as UBC, there's quite a lot of social clubs that I find are really easy way to kind of connect with people, and especially when you're in first year as well. So yeah. Sorry, I'm just trying to make sure of time. Yeah, so, okay. We'll have one more. We'll have one more. Kelly, would you like to?
Sure. Yeah, so like I said earlier, I'm a sustainability creative content director at CUS Sustainability, and that was the first kind of club I joined. And these aren't really clubs, it's more of like first year events, but I'd highly suggest any incoming first years to join Jumpstart, which is a 1-week orientation kind of thing, and also Collegia, which is a year-round kind of, well, if it was on campus, it's like the space where like transiting students are able to go and meet other transiting students. But since everything's online, I think it would still be really beneficial to join these events just to meet new people that are like upper years as well as other first years.
Mm-hmm. Okay, awesome. Thank you, Kelly. We'll just jump into how is the co-op program? And just anyone can really take this, whoever did the co-op program or has anything to say about it. Okay.
I can start.
Okay.
I personally didn't do the co-op program, but I guess I just want to say that it's definitely not necessary. Like it's okay if you don't get in because you do have to apply for it, but it is also a really great resource because then you have access to a lot of job postings essentially through co-op. But UBC has, like for everyone at UBC, there's something called Careers Online where there's a lot of different job postings and you can go through it, and there's also volunteering opportunities. And Like for me personally, in first year, just by going on it, I found random tutoring jobs that I ended up doing. So that's definitely really helpful, even if you don't do co-op.
Okay, thank you, Catherine, for your insight. We'll move into our next section of our panel discussion. So talk about your residence experience at UBC. You know, what residence were you in? Did you like it? Some pros and cons about different residences, maybe which one was the best residence. So Tiffany, would you like to go?
Yeah, sure. For me, I lived in Hamburg. No, wait, sorry. I lived in Place Vanier. It's called like Place Vanier or something, but I lived in a Hamburg house and on the second floor, so I was quite lucky as there's like a basement floor, some of you guys might know, and you can't really see out the window. But personally, I found Orchid Commons the nicest one because it's 17 floors and the view is absolutely amazing. The rooms are much cleaner. The washrooms are nicer because Vanier is, I think, the oldest residence on campus. Also, the newer residences at Totem Park are quite nice. As for the meal plan system, it's like personally, I didn't like it that much because I got food poisoning twice. Also, the menu never changes, and it's like some items can be extremely unhealthy, and others would be like 2 pieces of spinach, right? So there's like it's two ends of the spectrum. But yeah, I moved out of residence actually early. I moved out in December because that's when my health got really bad. I wouldn't say it's due to the meal plan though, nor the people. I think that was like my own mental health that kind of made me move out. But everyone on campus is extremely friendly. Everyone you live with, it's amazing.
Yeah, no, I don't know if it's universal for all universities, but I found just meal plan wise, if you can cook for yourself, I mean, go for it, but don't expect too much out of the meal plan. I totally agree with that. Maria, would you like to talk about your residence experience?
I was actually a commuter, but I do know, I agree with Tiffany that the Orchard Commons is really pretty. I've been in it a lot of times, and I think it was built pretty recently, just like in these last few years. So yeah, it's really nice and nice view. But I think it's the community that matters the most in each residence because even though Vanier is old, I heard that the community is really nice and
No,
it's
I
really
totally
tight
agree.
knit.
For sure. Like honestly, like you can say which one's the best residence, but I found like I didn't have high expectations going into my residence as well because it wasn't really raved about. It was kind of more low key, but the people on my floor made my experience just amazing. So it's really nice if you get lucky to have those people around you for sure. And then just for time, Katrina, would you like to just talk about it?
Yeah, so in first year, I was also a commuter, but the following year, I was a first year residence advisor. As a commuter, even though you're not on residence, and I totally like connected with people who have like a virtual experience now, is that you can definitely just like hop on like Facebook groups. I think I mentioned this in the chat. Like Facebook groups are really huge of like connecting with each other there. If you go on Facebook and just look up like UBC class of like 2024 or whatever your graduation year is, that's a huge part. And that's kind of like how I gained like that residence community as a commuter in first year. And then in second year as an RA, there are 3 residences, which are Totem, Orchard, and Vanier. And again, like the older it is, the more of that like community feel that it has. With Orchard Commons, it's like the 2 bedrooms and a washroom between each other, so like single connected is what you call it. And there's not much of a community for that because like you usually like connect with like your high school like friend that you sign up with. But with like Vanier and Totem, a lot of it is like communal washrooms. So I would say there's that community feel, but it also depends on like if you want a newer area, then like Orchard is the newest. So yeah.
I think everyone has a different experience with communal washrooms. So yeah, no, definitely. Thank you for that, Katrina. Yeah, I guess Maria and Katrina also touched a little bit upon like the being a commuter. So we'll give it to Catherine. Do you want to talk about like what are some transportation options and getting around campus? What would you recommend? Yeah.
Yeah, I commuted as well. And for one term, I commuted pretty far, like over an hour from Burnaby. So I kind of have that experience as well. And there are a lot of different buses you can take. And if you live on campus, there's actually a bus that takes you from like the main area of campus or where you live in residence to like the campus grocery store. So that's really convenient. But my tip would be to try and plan around busy hours if you can. Like most people are going to class at 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. kind of thing. Or if you can end a bit earlier, like 2 p.m., 3 p.m. or something, that might help you with your commute.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Catherine. Kelly, do you want to touch upon anything that she said?
Yeah, just really quickly, I guess, like what Catherine said, there are buses that can take you from like the main part of campus to the other end. So that's really useful. Another thing I found like is during rush hour, if you see that the bus is full and you know your ride is going to be really long, I think it's best if you have time to wait for the next bus if it comes really often, just so you can get a seat and just relax after a long day because no one wants to be standing for like another hour.
Definitely. Yeah, no. Rush hour during buses. I underestimated how many kids were at my university for sure. Thank you for that. And then actually we'll do one last one. Oh wait, let me just check on time. Okay, we're kind of a bit ahead of schedule. So does anyone, I can just open up like anyone wants to say anything else about commuting at all or your personal experience?
Kelly touched on this, but there is something called UBC Collegia, and again, it's usually when classes are in person, it's a space for commuters. However, now, if I'm not mistaken, it's in an online format, and you can register for that. And that was really helpful for me as a commuter because it's kind of a space where you can go and relax and kind of it builds a community, even if you're so you don't really feel like you're not a part of the campus as a commuter. Like with Collegia, you really do feel like you actually play a role on campus.
No, yeah. Thank you for that. Thank you. Okay, so I think this is actually our last slide, but I can just open up to just like what are some resources to find financial aid, both externally or at UBC? Anyone can really start. So yeah. Katrina, would you like to start?
Yeah, sure. So my part is that like you think scholarships are just high school and that's about it, but I'm going into my fourth year and I missed out on like 3 years of like scholarships that I could have easily searched up online. I think that's a huge thing. And also UBC does have scholarships, and it's not just people who are like the top like 99% average, but how they look at their scholarships is people who have like that leadership experience with an average that's maybe like above like a certain percentage. But if you really do your research, I'll also like link maybe like 2 resources here, but it like really like a lot of it goes into your like self research of getting into those nitty gritty scholarships. And honestly, like because there are some international students here, and I know international tuition, it's crazy, crazy, crazy big. So really looking into that like self-search is like a huge thing.
No, thank you. Thank you so much for that, Katrina. I think Tiffany wanted to talk about it next too, if you want.
Yeah, I just want to add on, if you search online, there are a million scholarships. Like for me, I signed up for a lot on Scholarships Canada, and there's another one, there's just a lot, honestly. But many just require you to write short essays. You can talk about your life. Some require a video submission. There's like BD Luminaires, a lot of prestigious ones. But as well, I wanted to touch on how banks offer a lot of scholarships, say like TD and BMO. I remember last year I applied to like one of them, and you just talk about your life story, and if it's good, you get money.
Yeah. We love that. We love that. We love feeding upon our life experiences. And Catherine, do you want to add anything onto that?
Not much to add, but I think, yeah, like Katrina sent a link for the Sauder scholarships. There's a lot you can apply to every year, and there's a lot for kind of different areas, as someone else mentioned. So definitely look into that. Like, don't think you're just not eligible.
No, definitely. Thank you. I mean, anyone else have anything in particular that they would like to add on? Okay,
I guess if you
awesome.
need,
Yeah.
okay, just one quick note. If you do need like help being guided to some scholarships, there are UBC financial aid advisors which you can go to and chat and talk about your options, or places where you can go and apply for scholarships.
No, I think I may need to look into that for my own school. Like, I need a financial advisor. Oh my goodness. Like, you don't realize how many loans you're taking out until like, okay. Anyways, an
Sorry, I
experience
want to
too.
add one more.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's also bursaries. Bursaries are a big thing at UBC. So if you're like on the like lower income spectrum, or you're like your parents are like lower to middle income, I have a lot of friends who like have parents like who are making maybe like 30, 40, 50,000 a year, and obviously like other things that go in place. So UBC is really big on that group of people, and if you do fall under that, like look up UBC bursaries, and they'll actually support you with your finances, and you don't have to pay them back. So it's not like a student loan.
So like a grant. Yeah, no, that's good. Awesome. Thank you. And for the first time, actually, we ended quite early. So I'm just going to open up to Q&A period. Just like, I'm going to check the chat right now, but I'm sure people have been answering. But if you guys want to have any questions for either of the panelists specifically, or just general, just feel free to send that to the Q&A chat. Okay. Okay. I'm just going through the chat right now, see if there's anything. Oh, we got some messages. Okay, so one asked, oh, now they're coming in. So one asked us, like, what do you think is like a competitive average to get into UBC? And anyone can answer that.
Sure. So with like competitive averages, I actually worked like front desk, like to answer these questions. And I have been told to like answer is that like for UBC, especially like if you're a high school student, looking into that, a huge thing is that we're not just looking at your average. Like there, like someone could apply with a 99%, but we're also looking at leadership opportunities and leadership background. So what you actually have to submit is your grades from high school that you need, and your personal profile. So your personal profile is about 6, 7, 8 questions. And then depending on your faculty, you might even submit like 2 video questions. And like you need that like volunteer experience, leadership experience, anything that like makes you like stand out through your soft skills. And that really like helps with balancing like the average. So I don't think there's a specific competitive average that we have. And it's all about like balancing it with your leadership opportunities.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Katrina. If anyone else wants to touch a little bit upon that as well. But yeah, definitely, I think it depends on the university a little bit, because the previous panel did talk about how McMaster only looked at grades. So it's really nice that UBC also looks at ECs and things like that, for sure. If nobody, I'll just move on to the next question as well. Tyler asked, is there any like overseas exchange opportunities that are available? If anyone knows the kind of studying abroad.
There's like a Go Global program. I'll send it into the chat later. But in your second or third year, you can apply and you could pretty much study abroad in different countries. I know there's a really big one in Copenhagen, Australia. So I think it's pretty cool. But you have to be in your second or third year, or fourth.
Awesome. Thank you, Tiffany. There's suddenly a lot of questions, so I'm just gonna keep going. So Jocelyn asked, is it true that it's hard to get jobs in finance if you don't do PMF? I'm not quite sure with that, but if anyone wants to explain.
I can answer. It's kind of specific, but Sauder definitely isn't like, I guess, like a top school for finance compared to the East Coast schools, because there aren't that many finance jobs in Vancouver. But I think it's really kind of what you make of it, as in for a lot of other majors as well, like if you work really hard, you will get a good job. Like it doesn't really matter if you're in the PMF at the end of the day, because I know a lot of people who just really grinded on their own and still got really good jobs in finance.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. Thank you, Catherine. If anyone else wants to just add anything to that as well. Okay, so I'm gonna move on to the next one. So yeah, so I guess like if you wanted to just talk a little bit more about the application process. So you talked about how like you can apply with your ECs and stuff like that, but you know, if someone asked, I don't have the highest average, but I have a ton of like community experience, do you think they'll be okay to apply to UBC and get in?
I wanted to say that, yeah, they actually do look at ECs a lot, because I have a few friends who, even if they had low averages, if their ECs may compensate for that. And as well, I feel like UBC looks for diversity in students a lot. So say you're not just involved in a certain type of EC, like say you only do tutoring for all 5 of your ECs. They're looking for maybe like, you do some sports, you might be involved in some school activities, some global ones, and they don't all necessarily have to be with an organization. It could be just like something you do at home even. Yeah.
Yeah, no, thank you, Tiffany. Thank you. If anyone else wants to add as well, just go right ahead. But other than that, the next question, Francis asked, how much does what you do for a living rely on? Okay, so I have to read the question myself, but anyways, so Francis was asking, what you learn in university, is that kind of like the final decision? Like if you learn business, you're going to go into business, or is that kind of a bit of a myth, I guess you could say? If anyone wants to go.
I think it's definitely not super reliant on what you do. I know so many people who ended up finding a job in a totally different career path. Like, for example, I work in finance, and one of my coworkers literally studied engineering and then found a job in finance. So you can definitely end up finding a job in whatever field you want, I would say.
That was good advice. Thank you. And then, yes, next question, Anna was asking, what are some studying tips that you developed in university, and what are the most important ones that brought you to success at UBC? If anyone wants to go.
I actually found that studying on campus was really productive for me. So I found myself at IKB or the Nest really often. And for me personally, I study better with friends, but like, friends who are hopefully
Productive.
quiet most of the time. Yeah, and productive, right? So you really have to find that right group of friends. But I feel like with a group of people, if everyone's concentrating and focusing on their work, it kind of pushes you to do the same. So that's what worked for me.
Thank you. Any of you guys can go first as well. I know a lot of people had to add to that.
Yeah, no, I think for me is just like, if you're gonna be like in your room studying all day, I another big thing is like make sure you're not like stuck in like one spot the entire day. Like make sure you're like standing up and like stretching, or if you actually can, like try and make your desk like a stand-up desk. It's like my next project actually, to make sure you're like stretching in between, like not like focusing entirely on like one sitting. And like, yeah, I guess like another thing, like don't push everything to like one like 8-hour chunk of like your homework at the end of the week. Like make sure you're pushing it out, because I will not ever be productive if I do that.
Yeah, no, uni content is a lot. It surprised me how much content it was. Definitely a shock. So I don't think you'll be able to push it all on the weekend for sure. Kelly, did you want to add on to that?
Yeah, I wanted to add on to what Tiffany said about studying with friends, like especially for some courses where the material might be a little more difficult. I think it's really useful to study with friends just so you have like those people to bounce ideas off of and maybe just clarify any questions or anything you have with them.
Yeah, I totally agree. I found studying with friends so helpful if they are the right like people to study with, for sure. Could be your biggest like the easiest way to procrastinate, but also the best way sometimes to study, because I find I'm lost in my courses. I need people to help me. So yeah, definitely. Maria, did you have anything you would like to add?
Yeah, so one technique that I actually found out about in one of my courses, it's called interleaving. So pretty much the idea is if you have, let's say, 4 or 5 courses, you spend like you allot a certain amount of time to each course and you keep switching between them. For example, you spend 20 minutes on chemistry and then the next 20 on biology and then again another 20 on chem. So then you just kind of like switch between because then you also make a bunch of new beginnings and you can remember those new beginnings easier rather than just studying one thing for 5 hours.
No, yeah, that's a really good piece of advice. Yeah, I actually would need to take that as well. Thank you. Someone asked, okay, I think this was the next one. It was talking about how is the UBC Health Sciences program and are there many opportunities? If anyone wants to. I know the majority of you guys are from Sauder, so. If not, then I'll move on to the next one. It says, someone asked, what was your high school ECs that you think helped you a lot helped you a lot on your being able to go into being accepted by UBC, sorry.
I'm just gonna say, for me, I think it was the variety of things I put on my list. So I had some with sports. I did Dragon Boat. I was on the Richmond High team, and I also put some work experiences. So I was a receptionist, and I put that in there, and some you get a lot of volunteer opportunities would be great. So if you worked with, say, like NPOs or anything, you could throw that in there too. If you did any conferences, MUN especially, I know a lot of people did that. Extracurriculars, like you take dance lessons, could help as well. Because I feel like, I just want to emphasize, I feel like UBC is really looking for a variety of talents, not just like one single thing. So yeah.
I see, yeah, no, that's definitely something to consider. If anyone else would like to add on to that, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, I kind of like touching on what Tiffany said, having that variety, making sure it's not just like leader, like not every, because for the question profile, right, like those 7, 8 questions, not every answer is just like, right, that one leadership thing I did, that one, like each one is that one leadership experience. And it doesn't even have to be like the biggest, like this was another myth I had like coming into university is you didn't have to put like I was the president of this club, like I was the like CEO of like this like club I founded. It can even be something small from like, oh, like I had this like family commitment and this is how like I solved a problem with it, or like athletics, like I wasn't the captain but I like spoke out to my team, like something with like problem solving, and it doesn't have to be like the biggest club that you have to be a part of, which was a mistake that I had to like look into myself.
I think many of us do make that mistake as well. Yeah, for sure. Kelly or Catherine would like to go as well, or Maria as well.
Yeah, I would just touch quickly, like for solder specifically, I think one of the key factors, like I'm not sure, but I think one of the not events, like opportunities that I did that was really important was I was a yearbook editor. So that position was really important in terms of like leadership and teamwork skills. So I think for solder specifically, that was pretty important.
Would you say like Sauder like likes to look at more leadership? Because I find a lot of business programs do look for leadership as specifically as a very key skill to have.
I'm not too sure, but from like my friends and what they wrote for their personal profile, I know that mostly everyone did have that one really strong leadership teamwork experience. And the people that did get into solder from my friend group did have that experience. So I'm not sure if it's a coincidence or anything, but yeah.
For sure. Thank you, Kelly. Or Maria or Catherine, if any of you guys would like to provide some input.
I think UBC is great in that on the applications you can actually list a lot of extracurriculars, like I think more than other universities from what I've heard from some friends. Like there's one area where you can literally list 5 different things, and then there's other part questions where you can talk about certain things more in depth. And so I really tried to kind of have a variety of things that I did. For example, the instruments that I played and also other interests I had. Like for example, I have a black belt in Taekwondo, which I also talked about why I did that and how that kind of helped me grow as a person. So definitely just think about how the different extracurriculars, not only like what you did, but how they helped you grow as a person, how they affected you.
Yeah, that's really solid advice. And just, I guess, like, because we're kind of running out of time, but Maria, do you want to just like wrap something up or?
Yeah, sure. So I guess another thing is to choose your extracurriculars with intentionally. So not to just volunteer like only 1 hour in like a bunch of different things, but try to like kind of narrow them down and try to have maybe a little bit more involvement with each volunteer activity while also having variety, because then there's like a purpose in each volunteer activity that you choose.
Thank you, Maria. Okay, so awesome. I guess I'll conclude it. So once again, another kind of just a shout out to BCYC. They're also holding their mental health webinar series that you can definitely go check out. But anyways, if you would like to contact any of our panelists here, I'm sure they would love to connect with you, answer any of your questions. So these are their LinkedIns. Definitely go connect with them. Build your LinkedIn platform, especially if you're in business. That's really important. So definitely feel free to contact them. And yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. Really thankful to have all of you guys here. And definitely email. You can also email Leap as well if you have any other questions. And please visit our website. We have I'm pretty sure it'll come out tomorrow, our recorded session. And we also had people who did note taking as well. So yeah, here are some upcoming webinars. And yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in. And thank you to all these beautiful panelists for sharing their insight. And we hope to see you at the next webinar.